The 2018 September Apple event has literally just finished, and it was quite an exciting one. The most exciting Apple event I've seen in like 20 years or so. Not really. It was an okay Apple event. So the first announcement was pretty cool, and then it kind of dropped off. But yeah, here's everything you need to know about everything that Apple has announced today at the event. And do subscribe if you're new to the channel and enable notifications by tapping on that bell, because we'll have day one coverage on everything that Apple has announced today. But yeah, here's everything you need to know about everything. Okay, so the event started with the Apple Watch. So essentially they talked about the previous generation. The main three areas of focus for the Apple Watch at the moment for Apple are cellular, activity, and health, even though, activity and health, they're pretty much the same thing. And then Apple finally introduced the Apple Watch Series 4. Nice, so we finally get a brand new design. And by the way, this ad was absolutely insane. Like, the production quality that Apple has in their ads is just unmatched. And yeah, essentially this one comes with a more rounded design, literally the same one that we've had leaked by 95Mac about a week ago. And the last frame from this ad was literally the one that was leaked by Guilherme Rambo, again, in the 95Mac. Okay, so the Apple Watch Series 4 is actually the biggest design change, and actually the biggest watch change in an Apple Watch since the original one was introduced back in 2014. So the screens are actually larger, 35% larger and 32% larger for both of the casing models. And speaking of this, the casing models have actually changed. So instead of 38 and 42 millimeters, we now have 40 and 44 millimeters. And with this larger display, we also get quite a few changes when it comes to watch faces. So first of all, we get some new complications. All of these are unique for the Watch Series 4. There's a new watch face with up to 8 complications, again, unique for the Series 4. And then the modular watch face gets some changes for the Series 4. So now you can track a live sports score, for example, boarding information and nutritional intake, all of this on the same watch face. And then there's also a new Breathe watch face. Yes, this is still a thing. Remember the Breathe app, which reminds you to breathe on your Apple Watch? Yeah, that's still a thing. And it actually got a separate watch face. And then we also have a new Fire face. That looks awesome. And then a new Water face as well. And the new Vapor face. Yeah, these look insane. But yeah, essentially you get quite a lot of Apple Watch face changes and new complications, basically a tweaked UI just for this larger display on the Series 4. But there are some other changes as well with the Series 4. So the speaker, for example, is now 50% louder. We also get haptic feedback on the crown. So the crown doesn't physically click anymore. It's based on haptic feedback, just like the home button on the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 8. And then also scrolling. You can now scroll with the crown basically like before, but now you actually get haptic feedback when scrolling, so that's pretty cool. And then the microphone has been relocated, and we also get a brand new back. So the back is all new. We get black ceramic and sapphire crystal on the back, and this design, I don't know, there's something about this design that makes it look very, very robotic and futuristic. I really like the back of the Series 4. It's very, very different design-wise than the Series 3 or the Series 2 and 1 and 0 back. And then we also get better reception thanks to the fact that a cellular signal can now pass through both the front as well as the back. And then obviously we get better speakers, improved microphones. So overall, this watch is much better for phone calls or phone calls than the previous generation. But something that not a lot of people would probably talk about is actually the performance. So this one is actually the first Apple Watch to come with a 64-bit processor. Yes, this is huge, by the way, guys. All the previous watches came with 32-bit processors. So the first 64-bit chip in an Apple Watch is the Series 4 with the S4 processor. And this one provides up to 2 times faster performance than the Series 3, which was also significantly faster than the Series 2, which I have right now. This thing is a pig when it comes to performance. It's really, really slow. It lags. Yeah, the Series 3 is really smooth. This one should be essentially twice the performance when compared to a Series 3. We also get an improved accelerometer and gyroscope, 2 times dynamic range, and up to 8 times faster data sampling. Now, this actually translates into the fact that the Apple Watch can now detect a fall. Yeah. It's not going to stop you from falling, but yeah, there you go, it can detect a fall. Just joking. So it actually has a pretty cool feature. If you fall and it detects that you haven't moved for a minute, it will automatically call the emergency services. And then there's also a few improvements when it comes to the heart rate monitor. So the first one is that now if your heart rate is low, you would actually get the notification for that. So that's pretty cool. And then it can also detect some heart imperfections and diseases. Or issues. In this case, one of them would be atrial fibrillation. And then the Apple Watch Series 4 is also the first Apple Watch, and this might actually be the first smartwatch to come with an ECG meter. So the Apple Watch can basically take an electrocardiogram, which is huge. You actually put your finger on the digital crown. That's pretty genius. And then the battery life has been, well, improved, kind of. So it's still 18 hours. full day of use. Honestly, with my Series 2, this one lasts me for, I would say, yeah, definitely two full days. I can even get to maybe 2.5 days, depending on how often I use it. This one has a bit of an improved battery when it comes to workouts. And then, yes, it's finally thinner than the previous model. I really want to see how this would compare with the Series 0 because the Apple Watches kept getting thicker and thicker. The Series 3 is the thickest one yet. So yeah, this is thinner finally. And now there's also a new color, a gold color. Apple's basically trying to bring back the gold Apple Watch, obviously not made out of real gold. In this case, it would just be a painted or an anodized stainless steel, but it looks really, really similar to the gold Apple Watch Series 0, the $17,000 one. Yeah, that one. So right now you can actually buy it in multiple color and material options. So the aluminum ones come in silver, gold, and space gray, basically like before. There's no rose gold anymore. And then the stainless steel actually comes in 3 instead of 2 colors. So silver, black, and gold. So Apple has actually removed the ceramic Apple Watch models. Interesting. So no more editions. I guess those didn't sell that well. All the previous Apple Watch bands are also compatible. And speaking of bands, the Sport Loop actually gets reflective sides for nighttime. That's pretty cool. If you're a biker, that's a huge upgrade. Now, in terms of the prices, it's going to be $399 or $499 with cellular. The Series 3 actually got cheaper from, now it starts from $279. It's going to be available from September the 21st, which is a week from this Friday. Friday is when the pre-orders actually start. And then WatchOS 5 is actually going to be available from September the 17th. So yeah, essentially next week. Next up, we have the iPhones. So yeah, Apple said that the iPhone 10 came with a 98% customer satisfaction. Okay, that's awesome. Pretty much like every year. The most advanced iPhone ever. This is what Tim Cook said. But yeah, why is Tim even mentioning this? Obviously, a new iPhone would be better than last year's model. Anyway, so there's a new gold color. It's called the iPhone XS, and yeah, it comes in gold. That's literally the main design change. And the gold looks really, really good. It looks amazing. This is the same one that we've seen again in the Guilherme Rambo leak that he posted for 95 Mac. So yeah, good work. Okay, so what other changes? Well, first of all, IP68 finally, just like the Samsung Galaxy S9 or the S8 or the S7 from a few years ago. Finally, IP68 from IP67, so now you can submerge it in up to 2 meters of water from 1.5, so not that huge of a difference, in up to 30 minutes. But the question is it actually covered under warranty? Because it's actually not on the previous iPhones. Probably not. I'll have to double check with this. But Apple actually said that they tested this not just in salt water, but also in beer. There you go. The iPhone XS is now beer proof. How cool is that? The OLED displays are a bit better now with 60% greater dynamic range than on the iPhone 10. And then the iPhone XS comes in 2 sizes now, basically the same ones that we've seen leaked and reported pretty much everywhere. So 5.8 inch and 6.5 inch. And the 6.5 inch is called not the iPhone XS Plus, but the iPhone XS Max, because according to Apple, it's bigger than the Plus, so it should have a bigger name. So yeah, the next name should be, I don't know, iPhone Ultra Max, iPhone Humongous. But yeah, it's bigger than the Plus. It comes with a 120 Hz touch sensing display, which, by the way, fun fact, it's the same one as on the iPhone 10. It's not a ProMotion 120 Hz display panel, unfortunately, like on the iPad Pro 10.5 inch. The stereo sound is a bit improved now. So yeah, we got wider stereo sound. I'm actually thinking that on a 6.5 inch model, the speakers should be better than on the 5.8 because, we get more room inside. So yeah, it should sound better, but I'll test this and I'll let you guys know. There's a faster secure enclave, which basically translates to faster Face ID. And Apple says that this is the most secure face unlock on any phone, which, yeah, it actually is. It still was the same case with the iPhone 7. Now, the biggest change with the iPhone 10, the biggest change in the iPhone 10 is actually the processing power. So the Apple A12 chip is now the world's first 7nm processor. This is ahead of Intel. This is ahead of anyone else. Okay, so that's pretty big. What else? Now, it comes with a 6-core CPU, so 2 high-performance cores and 4 low-performance cores, basically like the Apple A11. It comes with a 4-core GPU, so quad-core GPU, which is 50% faster than the A11, and it comes with 8 cores for the neural processing engine. Now, what's even more interesting is actually the processing power of this processor. So the A11 was able to do 600 billion operations per second, and this one, the A12, can actually do 5 trillion operations per second. So yeah, that's a massive improvement over the A11, which translates to faster storage controller, always-on processor. That was pretty interesting to hear. Unfortunately, it doesn't come with an always-on display, so yeah, that's for something else. 512 gigabytes of storage. You can have this on the iPhone XS now. who would actually use 512 gigabytes of storage? I'm not sure, because everything is moving towards cloud nowadays. And then when it comes to visible performance, the app launch speed has been improved by 30%. It's not a huge difference, but yeah, the storage is faster than on the iPhone 10. Now, here's the thing. The iPhone 10, the Apple 11 chip was already 2 to 3 years ahead of the competition. The A12 is significantly better than the A11, which is nice, awesome, but it's still useless on an iOS device because it needs something like, Samsung's DeX, the ability to turn an iPhone into a full-fledged computer, a Mac in this case, because iOS is still limited. I have to use my 12-inch MacBook instead of my iPad Pro for a lot of stuff when I'm away, so that sucks. iOS needs a huge improvement, or, a processing power like this in an iPhone XS needs to be harnessed somehow. Maybe by turning it into, a Mac using a DeX dock from Apple, obviously. They also showed a new Elder Scrolls game, a mobile RPG game, and this one looked insane. The graphics were just unbelievable on a mobile phone. They actually look much better than Skyrim, to be honest, but personally, I would use a controller. I just don't really like playing RPG games and, actual proper games on a phone with touchscreen. I don't know. I would use a controller and obviously a stand, and then a dock to connect it to a monitor. But yeah, so far, not that many changes. So what about a camera? Because this is personally where I want to see the biggest improvement. Well, the camera kind of comes with a few new things. So the true tone flash is now improved. Okay, what else? Well, the 12 megapixel wide camera comes with a larger sensor, which actually means better low light performance. We get up to actually 1.4 micron size pixels. So yeah, the sensor is larger. There's a new ISP with the Apple A12 Bionic chip, which means that the processing of the images, mostly the HDR, is much better than on the A11. So that's quite cool. Probably the biggest change is that now you can adjust the aperture after a shot was taken. So if you take a portrait mode shot, you can adjust the bokeh, which is pretty much the same thing that you can already do on Samsung phones. But this one seems to work really, really well, at least in the ad and the demo they showed. It worked just, amazingly. So I really want to test this out in person. Again, subscribe and notifications if you want to see that day one. Okay, what else? Well, we finally have 1080p 60 with a front-facing camera. So 60 frames per second is new. Personally, I prefer higher resolution, so I would love to see a 4K camera on the front-facing camera, a 4K resolution, which is actually possible if they upgraded a sensor over 8.3 megapixels in size, but we don't have that. It's still a 7 megapixel camera. But yeah, even with a 7 megapixel camera, you can do Quad HD, but Apple doesn't have that enabled for some reason. But yeah, other than that, the iPhone XS can now record stereo sound and video. Finally, we were able to do this with the Samsung Galaxy S8 as well, but we finally have it on the iPhone, and the battery life has been improved as well. So we get 30 extra minutes on the iPhone XS versus the iPhone 10, and then the iPhone XS Max, the 6.5-inch monster, gets up to 1.5 hours versus the iPhone 10. The iPhone XS also supports gigabit class LTE. Apple says that this phone supports more LTE bands than any other smartphone in the world, which is pretty useful when you're traveling. Dual SIMs, finally, in all models. This is huge. So not necessarily the fact that it supports dual SIMs, but one of the SIMs is physical and the other one is actually an eSIM. I've actually done a separate video on that a while ago. But yeah, essentially eSIMs are huge. Basically the iPhone, if you have an eSIM, the iPhone is basically theft-proof. This is huge. Much bigger than anyone realizes. So I might be making a separate video just on that, but this is huge. And then the Chinese model of the iPhone XS and XS Plus the Plus comes with 2 physical SIMs because eSIM is not available in China. So you actually get one SIM tray with 1 SIM on each side, which is pretty ingenious because the reader is actually in the middle. So yeah, the slotting system should be pretty smart. So that's cool. Apple also said that multiple iPhone components are now made out of recycled materials. Okay. What else? Well, they have actually announced a third iPhone model, which is basically the one that we were all expecting. The iPhone 9, no. The iPhone XC, no. It's actually the iPhone XR. Apple, please watch my 30 plus Apple inconsistencies video. Please watch this video. Please. It's gonna make your sales even better than they currently are. Please watch it. Apple hasn't really said what the R comes from. Maybe the iPhone regular. I'm not sure. But yeah, this is basically the iPhone 9, the iPhone XC that I've been talking about in so many videos. Yeah, so it comes with 7000 series aluminum, basically the same as in the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 8 and even the iPhone 6s. And it comes in multiple colors, so same iPhone 10 design. The bezels are quite thick when compared to an iPhone 10. But yeah, multiple colors, white, black, blue, coral, yellow, and product red. This one actually looks sick. It also comes with an LCD display, which Apple claims to be the most advanced LCD display in a smartphone. They call it Liquid Retina, which comes from, it's an LCD liquid crystal display Retina. Yeah, again, Apple, stop using these naming schemes. Just call it Retina display. It's literally the same thing. 326 ppi, which is Apple's, magical number. But yeah, it's an LCD display, not an OLED, and it also supports quite a few interesting things from the iPhone 10. So 120 Hz touch input panel. Again, this is not ProMotion display, so it's not a refresh rate is just the touch input panel. It also supports tap to wake. Apple made a big deal about this, but this is not because of the LCD technology, but this is thanks to, the digitizer. So it has nothing to do with the fact that it's LCD versus OLED, or yeah, tap to wake just like on the iPhone 10, True Tone just like on the iPhone 8. There's no 3D touch, but there's haptic touch, so I'm not sure about that. I want to test it out. That seems quite interesting. It's basically a downward version of 3D touch. But what's interesting about this phone is that it actually comes with the exact same camera system as even the front and the back as the iPhone XS and the iPhone XS Max from 2018, from this year, not the iPhone 10 from last year, and also the Apple A12 processor, which personally I wasn't expecting. I was expecting this phone to come with the A11. In terms of the RAM, this hasn't been confirmed, but again, the leaks said that this was going to be 3 GB of RAM versus 4 GB on the other iPhone XS models, which I believe to be the case as well. But again, I'll test that when I get my iPhone XR and the iPhone XS and XS Max. But yeah, a single camera module is the main difference when it comes to the camera. It's actually the same wide-angle camera as in the iPhone XS, same specs. But what's even more interesting is that this phone, the XR, actually supports portrait mode using software. So this is quite similar to what Google is doing with the Google Pixel, the Google Pixel 2 and the Pixel 2 XL. That's quite interesting to test out. And you can actually adjust the aperture just like on the other iPhone XS models. Yeah, interesting. Using software versus using actual hardware and software on the iPhone XS and XS Plus. Obviously, it won't be, or at least it shouldn't be as good as the other two, but I'm really curious to compare the portrait mode against these phones. And then when it comes to the battery life, Apple says that it comes with an hour and a half more battery than the iPhone 8 Plus. The 8 Plus actually had better battery life than the iPhone 10, so that would be one interesting battery to test out, because the iPhone XS and the XS Plus actually come with two batteries. XS Max, sorry, I keep calling it the Plus. But yeah, other than that, we get dual SIM support, IP67, not IP68. And in terms of the prices, well, the iPhone XR starts from $750, which is actually pretty good. This is at 64 gigabytes, so that's the baseline option. You can only pre-order it starting September 19th, so yeah, that's quite late, and it comes out on October the 26th. So yeah, iPhone XR coming in October, and then when it comes to the iPhone XS and XS Plus, they're actually coming out on September the 21st, and the pre-orders start on Friday the 14th. Now, the prices of these phones are actually higher than we expected. So $999 for not the iPhone XS Max, but for the iPhone XS. And then the Max starts from $1,100, or actually £1,100. Yes, 1-to-1 conversion ratio, again, in the UK. And that's for the baseline. That's for the 64 gigabyte option, which is crazy. So, I mean, you just add in a few more $100 and you get yourself a MacBook Pro, like a full computer versus just, a larger iPhone 10. Other than that, a few more updates on software. So iOS and watchOS, the new updates, iOS 12 and watchOS 5 are coming out this Friday, the 14th, Mojave, macOS Mojave on the 24th. But yeah, we haven't seen anything in terms of the AirPort charging mat and the AirPods 2, which is a bit strange because Apple announced those last year in September, which makes it, those devices have been announced for a year and they're still not out yet. And Apple still hasn't said anything about those. So maybe a silent release. Maybe they're ashamed of the fact that they were announced a year ago. That would be my guess. Or maybe they're not even launching yet. So yeah, do subscribe and notifications if you have enjoyed this video and you want to see my day one coverage of the new 2018 iPhones, which will have day one. But yeah, definitely join the zone. Also, tap that join button, support the channel, and you get access to some really cool exclusive perks such as live stream and some cool badges that you can use in the comments and live stream as well that actually upgrade and evolve over time. But yeah, other than that, just let me know in the comments what do you guys think about today's Apple event. Do you think it was a good one? Do you think it was a bad one? In my opinion, it was a bit boring apart from the Apple Watch Series 4. That's huge. Other than that, iPhone XS pretty much the same as the iPhone 10, just comes gold. iPhone XS Max, just a larger iPhone XS, and iPhone XR, that's an interesting one. I think this one should sell like hot bread. The price is pretty good as well. So yeah, thank you for watching. I'm Daniel, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Zen of Tech, signing out. Cheers.